The sharing of scripture today is on Romans chapter 14, verse 23. It says that, and he that doubteth is damned if he eat, because he eateth not of faith. For whatsoever is not of faith is sin. So here, Paul was dealing with the subject of eating things, because as you must know, there was eating things, eating unclean or clean things. It was a huge topic in the Bible, whereby even when Jesus came, I remember that the Pharisees came and said, Jesus, why do your disciples eat without washing hands? So the things of eating, the topic of eating, it was a major topic. So Paul is dealing with it now, and Paul says that if you eat, but you eat without faith, and he that doubteth is damned if he eat. So Paul is saying that anything that you eat, whether it will do good to you or bad to you, is determined by your faith, the one who is eating. So Paul is saying that he has reached a level whereby he eats everything, because what he has understood, that the part of eating, even if you are eating what is unclean, but if you have faith that it will not cause uncleanness, then that unclean, it won't cause uncleanness. My God. So Paul says that, and he that doubteth is damned if he eat. So if you say that eating the meat of pig, if you believe that eating the meat of pig is wrong, it's not biblical, it's unclean, then Paul is saying that don't eat it, it's okay. Because if you go on to eat that meat that you think that is forbidden in the Bible, it will cause harm to you. So meaning that you determine what things do to you by your faith. So what Paul is saying here is that you can have the problem, but you see, the worrying of the problem is more toxic than having the problem itself. The worrying of the problem, the worrying of the sickness, the worrying of the divorce, the worrying of the disease, the worrying of unemployment, the worrying of a problem is more toxic than having the problem itself. You see, there are people that today they're depressed because they are having unemployment, because they are single, they don't have anyone, they have loneliness. But there are other people who they have the same problems, they are unemployed, they don't have anyone, they are lonely, but they're not depressed. Why? It's because it's not just about having the problem of loneliness. No, it's about worrying about it. When you worry about the problem gets to you. So you can have the problem. This is what Paul is saying here, that if you eat but you're having faith, even if what you're eating is unclean, it won't give you a problem. So everything is determined by your faith. I'm telling you, there are people that if they tell you that I'm sick, I've been taking pills, you won't believe it. It's because they don't worry about the problem. So even though the problem is harmful, it does not really harm them. So another thing that today I'm adding to your list is the worrying of the problem. So after a doctor prescribes for you the pill saying that for this sickness or disease to be maintained or to be treated, you must drink this. For this disease to be stable, you must drink this. You must drink this water with these pills 3 times a day. The doctor must also tell you that also make sure that you don't worry about it. When you worry about the problem becomes more toxic. So Paul says that he that eateth, but if you don't doubt and you eat, I'm telling you, it won't happen. Nothing will happen to you. So child of God, understand that everything is determined by faith. And you see, still when we're talking about the subject of faith, I want you to understand this, that there are people who they can pray, they can fast, but at the end of the day, they find a way to undo all their prayers, all their fasting. Let me ask you a question today. When you have prayed and have asked God for healing, for deliverance, after you have prayed, after you have fasted, and people come and ask you, how are you? What do you tell them? Because some of you, even after you have asked God for healing, for deliverance, But when people come after you've prayed and said, how are you? You begin to say, I'm not good, nothing is moving. You begin to speak the language of unbelief, and you're not aware that by speaking the language of unbelief, you are undoing every prayer that you were doing before. You are undoing every fasting that you were doing before. So child of God, be careful. After you pray and people come and ask you, how are you? Be careful of how you respond to them. Even though you are still feeling the pain, but out of belief, knowing that you pray, tell them that no, I'm healed. All things are moving well. You are not lying. You are saying it out of it. This is how you practice faith. But there are people who, the way they worry, if they tell you that they pray, you will never believe it. Why? They are praying with unbelief. They are praying, they are fasting with unbelief. That is why no matter how you fast, no matter how you pray, there are never results of that, because unbelief is the only thing that manages to erase your prayer. I'm telling you, if you have unbelief, you will live a life and it will look like you are not a prayer warrior when you are. So be careful. For some of you, after you pray, you go to your WhatsApp, you post. Things are difficult. You're not aware that by posting that statement in unbelief, you are erasing every prayer that you're doing. You are erasing every fasting that you're doing. So child of God, be careful. You see, by Paul in this Bible telling us that the one who doubts and eats, then he's damned. Paul is showing us that nothing can harm us unless we are afraid of it. Nothing can harm us unless we are worrying about it. So the sickness that you are having today, it will not be finishing you like that. It will not be like that, but you are giving it power by what? By worrying so much about it. Do you know that by worrying about the problem, you are actually worshiping the problem? Do you know that by worrying about a situation, you are actually... I'm saying this because there are some of you who you are going to pray that God, please God, deliver me from this circumstance, this situation. But after you pray, you are going to spend the rest of the day worrying about the problem. It means that though you pray, but you have some time whereby you worship. If you have time of worrying about the problem that you are having, it means that you worship your problem. Because when you are worrying, you are saying, but this thing I'm scared. This thing will finish me. By doing that, you are worshiping the problem. So your sickness has become your God. Why? You worry about it. You worship it. The child of God, understand what worrying about the problem does. Worrying about the problem is more toxic than having the problem itself. Thank you.